Hey guys, here's a brief update on that Westinghouse WR-8 radio. I pulled out both chassis. Here's the power supply and audio amp chassis. On the left, I believe, there's a main power transformer. Big filter choke. This set didn't have any large electrolytic filter capacitors on the DC supply, so they used a large choke to take care of most of that ripple. And then audio output transformers. This is an RCA Radiola 80 chassis, and normally the two chassis would be stacked one on top of the other horizontally like they are now, and there'd be a rectifier tube here and two audio output tubes. Well, normally when this is in the set, this chassis is now mounted in this position in that cabinet over there, which would cause the tubes to now be horizontal, and that would cause a problem called filament sag. When you heat up wire, like in the filaments, it expands and actually gets a little bit softer, and if the tubes are on their side, gravity is going to pull down that filament to the side of the tube instead of straight down, which can cause problems. So what they did was they plugged wires into each of the tube sockets and ran them to a special mounting bracket so the tubes would be in the proper position. You can see on here there's a UX280 and two UX245 audio output tubes. The other chassis has the radio itself, antenna input, antenna coil, the gain tuning capacitor, and then a series of tubes which I've pulled out for RF, IF amplification, and audio detection at the end. Underneath, some more coils, a few resistors, and not too many capacitors. The set just didn't use many. This block up here has several inside of it, and again with the box down there. I'll have to pop those caps open and maybe rebuild those capacitors. One nasty thing on this is there's three IF transformers down here. That center one is corroded, kind of turned all yellow and nasty, so I'll have to crack that open and try to get the rust off of it and see if there's any damage inside of it. This chassis was also cadmium plated like a few of my other sets, and that turns this nasty yellow greenish color as the cadmium oxidizes. I already cleaned up a portion of it, and you can see it gets really nice and shiny. Not quite as nice as chrome, more like a leadish, dull kind of a silver, but still nice in that yellow white color. And here's the cabinet itself. Totally pulled out the chassis, the speakers, and everything down to the bare wood. Didn't find any treasures inside, just a lot of more dirt and debris and plaster and crap. I'm going to get this cleaned out and then start injecting some glue and clamping down this veneer and work my way up. Strip down the old finish and start refinishing it. I'm also going to try repairing the speaker. I got some advice online at Videokarma.org, and I picked up some coffee filters to make patches with, and some Eileen's tacky glue, which apparently is the thing to use because when it dries, it remains flexible. Others suggest using Elmer's glue, nail polish, super glue, but those do become very hard and brittle when they dry. For a small patch, a small hole like this, it's probably okay, but for larger areas, you want to retain some flexibility so when the speaker's, going with the sound, it has a little give so it can vibrate. A couple more things I wanted to mention. One, every old TV radio cabinet I pick up has these metal caps on the bottom. They will kill your hardwood floors, or probably just about anything but carpet's going to get pretty torn up by these. So what you can do is pop them off with a screwdriver. Hang on. I should a screwdriver to wedge under this. They come off pretty easily. It's just a metal cap with 4 teeth on it. Or 3 in this case. Don't leave these lying around, as you can imagine. If you step on that with those points up, it will hurt like hell. And clean this up and put on some felt pads like you would on a piece of furniture, and they slide around real nice. Next thing was the clock. I was totally wrong with the way this clock works and what this little slider's for. Put the face back on. Put that 0, 1, 2, 3. What that is actually for is an indicator when the power goes out of how long the power's been out and whether or not you need to change your clock. So what you would do is you would decide how much you care about how long the clock is off before it's a concern to you. So the 1, 2, 3 refers to 1, 2, or 3 minutes of the power being out. So what this would do is if you slid this over to, say, the 2 position, and while the clock's plugged in, the clock's running off the AC line, no problem. Now when the power goes out, it will start running via that spring tension, and the flywheel will start running, and the slider will start moving over. And say the power comes back on after a minute, this little pin will be stuck at the 1 minute position. Say you were out, you come back, the clock is still running, you can see it's at the 1 position. You can then move the minute hand forward by 1 minute to compensate. Now, if the power is out long enough for this to go all the way down to 0, when the power comes back on, the clock will actually not start running at all. So I guess it would be up to the owner to notice that, hey, the power's back on, the clock isn't running, it must have been off for a long time, longer than 2 minutes, 1 minute. So I better find out what the time is supposed to be and set the clock correctly, and then trip this back to 1, 2, or 3. Kind of a weird thing, I know, and I'm not sure how valuable that was to people. I don't think it really caught on because I've never seen another clock that has a mechanism like that. But that is how it actually works. I'll put up a link next to the video so you can read all about it for yourselves. That's all for now.